Today on Cruiseman's Garage, we're installing these side marker LEDs from Showchrome onto a 2018 Honda Goldwing Tour. These lights not only enhance the overall appearance of the motorcycle, but they also make it more visible to other traffic. These LEDs will fit any 6th generation Honda Goldwing or Goldwing Tour.
This Cruiseman's Garage video is sponsored by WingStuff, your online resource for Honda Goldwing parts, accessories, and much, much more.
This video will begin by showing the installation of the front marker lights, after which I'll show the installation of the rear marker lights. I've put chapter markers in the description of this video if you wish to skip ahead. Place your Goldwing on the center stand. The front marker lights come with detailed instructions that you should carefully follow. I've also placed a link in the description of the video to a PDF file of these instructions. Open the left and right saddlebag door, then lower the passenger footrests. Remove the side covers by pulling out from the center as shown here. Now, locate the heated seat connector in front of the right saddlebag. There's a tab at the top of the top half of the connector that you can press to release this connector. Here's the tab shown here. The seat is held in place with two 6mm Allen bolts located toward the front of the seat. Using a 6mm Allen socket or an Allen wrench, remove the bolt and the washer and set these aside. Lift up firmly on the very front corners of the seat to release the nylon pins from the grommets. Hold one hand under the front of the seat and with your other hand pull forward, and then you can lift the seat out, making sure the electrical connector is free. First, we need to remove the factory reflectors that are on the front fork, and to do that, we have to remove the front fender. The front fender is held in place with four 5mm Allen bolts. Remove these using a 5mm Allen wrench or a socket. Remember that the bottom bolt also has a small nylon washer behind it. You'll need to remove that as well. Remove the front fender by pulling out from the bottom and lifting up as shown. Set your fender on a soft surface where it won't get damaged. Reach in between the front fork and the wheel to remove the rubber grommet shown here. This will give you access to the nut and bolt that hold the reflector in place. Here I'm using an 8mm socket to remove the nut from the back of the bolt that holds the reflector in place. With the nut removed, you can now remove the reflector. Feed the wire from one of the marker lights through the opening in the front fork as shown here. Insert the bolt on the back of the marker light through the hole in the fork. There's a small alignment tab on the bottom of the marker light that will line up with a hole there as well. And then secure this in place with the washer and lock nut that come with your kit. Since this video was originally made, I had a motorcycle accident and these side marker lights got damaged, so I had to replace them. And when I did, I thought this would be a good time to explain to you why I have that yellow microfiber cloth back there behind the front fork. We have to attach a very small washer and this lock nut. This front fork is hollow. It's aluminum and it's hollow. You see my finger back here? Well, there's a little open well for the front fork. That's all open down there. As you're attaching this light, you're having to work using your hand from behind to attach that nut and that washer. And it is very, very easy to drop that nut or that washer, and it will go down into that abyss and you'll never get it out. Well, I won't say never. If I remove the front wheel, yeah, you could probably use a magnet to get it out. Now, don't ask me how I know, that can happen, because I'm a professional and I would never drop a nut or a washer down into a part of the bike never to be seen again. Take a little piece or a microfiber cloth and stuff it into that well from behind. You come in here from behind and you want to stuff it down into that well to kind of give yourself that if you do drop that washer or that nut, it will hopefully just bounce or stick to that microfiber, but it won't go down inside the front fork. Now it might fly around back here behind the wheel and drop down on the floor and you could find it. So I'm going to recommend that you do that. Now you can just use a full-size microfiber cloth. I've just got a little one here, and that's what I'm going to do to keep from losing that washer nut. Not that I would ever do that.
I'm using an 8mm socket to tighten that nut on the back of the marker light. The rubber grommet we removed earlier is marked so that you can see where the front of the grommet is.
So the next thing we have to do is we have to replace this rubber grommet on the back side of the front fork. What Showchrome recommends is that we cut a notch out of this corner. I do it at the top corner toward the motorcycle, the top kind of inside corner right here, and we'll position that wire so that it kind of goes right through this. Now, I personally have found you don't have to cut into this second flap. You can, it won't hurt anything, but I'm not going to. So they suggest 9mm. I'm just going to cut on this corner right here, and I'm using just wire cutters. And I'm going to cut a piece. It just has to be big enough for the wire to go through. About like that right there. You can see that. And then I'm going to cut down into this section here. Like that. Okay, now I've got this little flap. You can see that. And the wire should go in there, but I'm going to cut that off, but I'm going to leave this piece out here. I think it'll provide just a little bit more protection from water getting down inside the front fork and everything. So that's the way I'm going to do it. You can do it. If you want to go ahead and cut through all the way, I guess that's fine. I think I did on my first installation. And let me just cut this out here. Like that. So that's what I end up with.
I do deviate slightly from Showchrome's recommendation. I cut my notch at the rear top of the grommet so that the wire comes out toward the top rear of the grommet, because that's closer to where I'm going to be tying the wires up. But either method will work fine. We need to route the wires to the back of the bike, and I'm doing this over the top of the engine, as you can see here, and then we'll eventually run these wires up inside the frame to underneath the seat, where they will then be connected to our isolator fuse block. Use the small cable ties included in the kit to secure the wire to the back of the brake lines as shown here. The 3 wires are routed between the gas tank and the frame and will eventually be connected to this isolator fuse box shown here with the top removed. A link to the video showing the installation of the isolation fuse block is in the description below. Repeat the procedure for the other side of the motorcycle. With both marker lights installed, you can now replace the front fender. Set it in place as shown here, and then replace the 2 bolts. When reinstalling the lower bolt, make sure the nylon washer slips over this metal collar that protrudes. You may have to use a small tool to hold that washer in place as you tighten the bolt. Now tighten the top bolts on each side and you're done. Now if you're looking where to buy these side marker lights by Showchrome, you can order these directly from WingStuff.com. WingStuff is the largest online reseller of Honda Goldwing parts and accessories. So no matter what you're looking for, tires, electronics, maintenance parts, helmets, riding gear, even Honda OEM parts, WingStuff has you covered. And hey, while you're at it, go ahead and sign up for Wing Rewards, their loyalty program, where you earn points for every dollar you spend. Shipping rates are very reasonable, and orders over $199 get free shipping. WingStuff offers a price match guarantee. If you find a product cheaper somewhere else, they'll match the price, and every product they sell has a 60-day easy return policy. WingStuff has been serving the Goldwing community since 1999, so check them out today at wingstuff.com, and thank you, WingStuff, for sponsoring this video. The rear LED markers come with detailed instructions that you should follow carefully before performing this installation. I'm placing a link in the description of the video to a PDF file with these instructions just in case you need them. We must remove the saddlebag doors to complete the installation. I'm starting on the right side, but you can start on the left side as well. The first step is to remove the Phillips screw that holds this cable in place. Now I'm just going to set this cable with the screw inside the saddlebag for now. Here you can see the small spring clip that holds the gas shock in place on the saddlebag door. I'm using a small screwdriver just to slightly pry this clip out. As you pry out on this clip, you can push outward on the gas shock to remove it, but make sure you're supporting the door. Here you can see I'm using my knee to hold the door in place. With the gas shock and the cable removed, you can now lower the door low enough to gain access to the 3 small screws that hold the hinge pins in place. Remove all 3 of these screws, and then you can remove the hinge pins. I like to remove the outer pins first, leaving the center one in place. That way it kind of holds the door more steadily. You're still holding this up with your knee, or have a friend hold it for you as you remove these hinge pins. Once the 3 pins are removed, you can carefully remove the saddlebag door as shown. It's very important to set your saddlebag door on a clean, soft surface. I'm using a towel on top of carpet here. There are 10 Phillips screws that hold the liner in place. In addition, there are 4 Phillips screws that hold the 2 latches in place. Using a Phillips screwdriver, remove all 10 of the screws that hold the liner in place. Also, remove the 4 Phillips screws that hold the 2 latches in place and remove the latches. Make note that the screws for the liner are smaller and a different size than the screws for the latches. With both latches removed, you can now pull the liner away from the saddlebag by lifting up, and it will just come right out. Pressing the 5 black plastic tabs on the inside of the saddlebag cover will help to release the lower black trim piece, which we need to get access to. Here you can see the lower trim piece after it's been removed. On the back of the trim piece, we need to remove this 8mm nut that holds the reflector in place. Even though we won't be reusing this nut and the washer, it's a good idea to keep these. I like to put them back on the back of the reflector, and I keep all these parts just in case you ever want to replace them. You just never know, so it's a good idea to hang on to them. Now when you remove the reflector, you'll notice there's a piece of double-sided tape at one end, and you'll need to remove that and remove the tape, and then clean that area good with some rubbing alcohol. Carefully follow the instructions that came in your kit for marking where the holes need to be drilled in the trim piece, in the saddlebag cover, and on the liner. Here I'm marking the saddlebag cover, the painted part, and in this particular installation we're doing 1 inch from the center of the hole and 7/16 of an inch from the bottom. Now I'm using a step bit because I find it does a much better job. It cuts a very clean hole in plastic, and I'm going to step down to where it's cutting basically a 3/8 inch hole, and you can see when I remove the tape it just leaves a really beautiful, clean, smooth hole. And here I'm using the same step bit to drill a 3/8 inch hole into the black plastic trim piece. And this, like I say, the step bit just cuts buttery smooth. You're really going to want to add this tool to your toolkit. Of course, the last hole we're going to drill is in the liner itself, and per the instructions that come in your kit. Feed the wires from the correct reflector through the hole we just drilled in the black trim piece. Now we're ready to install the marker light. After the wires have been pulled through, clean the back of the light good with rubbing alcohol and attach the double-sided piece of tape that comes in the kit. Now position the light as shown in the opening and install the washer and the lock nut that come in the kit. Use an 8mm socket to tighten. Now feed those wires through the hole we drilled into the painted surface of the saddlebag door and reinstall the lower trim piece as shown. The lower trim piece basically snaps into place. Now you're ready to reinstall the inner liner. Reinstall all 10 of the Phillips screws and don't forget to install the latches. Before reinstalling the saddlebag door, it's a good idea to run your fishing line for your wires from underneath the front of the saddlebag, and I'm going to run one up to where the heated seat connector is first, and then I can take the wire from there and run it up underneath the seat. Now I'm putting a little bend here in my fishing line, and then I'm going to have to use my hemostats to actually grab the end of that and pull it through where I need to, because you're working in kind of a tight space here. Now my fishing line is running kind of between the saddlebag and the top of the muffler, and you can see where it's coming out down there, and I'm just kind of wiggling it so you can see it. Now I'm using my hemostats to grab the end of that fishing line so I can pull it up to where I want it. I'll tell you what, these hemostats come in really handy for jobs like this. And now I've got my fishing line run. All I have to do is attach my wires to the other end and pull them up once I get the saddlebag door reinstalled. Now after positioning the door in place and holding it with my knee, I go ahead and insert those 3 hinge pins and the 3 screws that hold the pins in place. Now we can snap the air shock into place and reinstall our cable on the other end. After taping the wires to the end of the fishing line, I can very easily now pull them up to where I want them. And once they're in this position, it's very easy to get them inside the frame rail and up to where I need them under the seat. Here you can see I've used a larger cable tie to secure that wire to the frame. Now repeat all of these steps for the left side of the motorcycle. With all the wires now under the seat, you can begin to connect these to the isolator fuse block. Remove the 4 screws that hold the cover in place and then attach the wires to the running light and turn signal terminals. Here you can see my completed installation of both the front and rear marker lights. Here you can see I twisted the left and right turn signal wires together to fit into one terminal. Of course, I did the same thing for the running lights and the ground wires. Whenever I need to fish wires through the motorcycle into tight areas to get back to the battery or wherever, I like to use one of these really long cable ties. You know, these things, this one's about 3 feet long. You can get these at Ace or any hardware store, any Home Depot probably has them, or you can order them on Amazon. And basically you just cut the end off so that it'll fit through the tight areas. And as you can see, it's very flexible, but it's stiff enough to where you can still feed it through those tight areas. It's a great tool for fishing wires, and it doesn't cost much. If you like this tip, you know, please take a second to subscribe to our channel down below. And if you click on the little bell icon, YouTube will notify you when we come out with new videos. Thanks again for watching Cruiseman's Garage.